Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into the dust-warm boots of ancient nomads, trudging across endless plains with everything you own strapped to your back. Picture it. The sun's a relentless torch overhead, your shadow stretches long across cracked earth, and the wind carries whispers of distant mountains. You're not just wandering, you're carrying your entire world from shelter to secrets in a bundle that's got to keep you alive. One wrong choice, like forgetting that extra water skin, and you probably won't survive this. Nomads didn't have the luxury of overpacking, so every item was a calculated bet against nature's wrath. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I love knowing where you're listening from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're an ancient nomad, and your life fits into what you can carry. The weight on your shoulders isn't just physical, it's the pressure of survival. Every step kicks up dust, and your pack, a mix of leather sacks and woven baskets, digs into your skin. What's inside? Only the essentials, chosen with the precision of a chess master. A rolled-up felt mat for sleeping, a flint for fire, a bone needle for stitching hides. These aren't just tools, they're your lifeline. The mainstream fact here is that nomads, like the Scythians of the Eurasian steppes around 700 BCE, carried lightweight, multi-purpose gear, often weighing less than 20 kilograms total. Their mobility demanded it. Archaeological digs have uncovered compact kits with knives, awls, and fire starters, all designed for durability. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some nomads, like the Mongols centuries later, reportedly carried dried milk paste, a kind of ancient protein bar. You'd mash it into water and boom, lunch on the go. No cooking, no fuss, just calories to keep you moving. Imagine the taste like chalk with a hint of regret, but it kept you alive. Historians still argue whether these nomads prioritized food over tools or vice versa. Did you pack more jerky or an extra blade? It's a debate with no clear winner, as grave sites show varied kits depending on the tribe. You trudge forward, your pack rattling softly. The rhythm of your steps syncs with your heartbeat, and you feel the weight of every choice. That extra rope, it could lash a shelter together. The clay pot, it might boil water, but could crack on a rocky trail. You're not just carrying objects, you're carrying decisions. A nomad's pack was a puzzle, each piece fitting just so. You might sling a water skin over your shoulder. It's sloshing a constant reminder of scarcity. Or maybe you've got a small bronze mirror tucked away, not for vanity, but for signaling across vast plains. Every item tells a story of survival, and you're the one writing it with every mile. The sun dips lower, painting the horizon gold, and you pause to adjust your load. Your fingers brush a small pouch of salt, a treasure worth more than gold in some markets. You smirk, thinking how modern folks would laugh at your obsession with a seasoning. But out here, salt preserves meat, boosts stamina, and buys you allies. You've got no room for sentimentality, yet you carry a tiny bone carving of a horse, a nod to the animals that carry you. It's not practical, but it grounds you, a reminder of who you are. The steppe stretches endlessly, and you know this load, your world in a sack, has to see you through. One misstep, one forgotten tool, and the plains don't forgive. You tighten the straps, take a breath, and keep moving. You're still trudging across the steppe, your pack a familiar ache on your shoulders. But now you're thinking about home, not a fixed place, but the one you carry with you. The wind picks up, tugging at your cloak, and you know tonight you'll need shelter fast. As an ancient nomad, Your home isn't made of stone or timber. It's a portable marvel, collapsible yet sturdy, designed to laugh in the face of howling gales. You're a master of nomadic architecture, and the yurt, or gur as the Mongols called it, is your masterpiece. It's not just a tent, it's a lifeline, and you've got every piece of it lashed to your horse or stuffed in your pack. The mainstream fact is that yurts, used by nomads like the Kazakhs and Mongols as early as 600 BCE, were engineering wonders. Made of felt, wood, and leather, they could be assembled in under 2 hours. Archaeological evidence from burial sites shows lattice frameworks and felt coverings, lightweight yet warm enough to withstand Siberian winters. You start by planting a circular base, a wooden skeleton that expands like an accordion. Over this you drape thick wool felt, layer upon layer, secured with ropes braided from horsehair. The result? A cozy dome that traps heat and shrugs off snow. You smirk, imagining some modern camper fumbling with a flimsy tent while you've got a whole house up before the stars are out. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some nomads painted their yurt frames with red ochre, believing it warded off evil spirits. You might roll your eyes at the superstition, but out here, where the night feels alive with whispers, you're not taking chances. You daub a little ochre on the doorframe, just in case. Historians still argue whether these designs were purely spiritual or also a status symbol. Did a brighter yurt mean a wealthier nomad? The debate lingers, as grave finds show both plain and ornate frames. You're kneeling now, hammering pegs into the earth with a stone mallet. The wind's getting sharp, and you work fast, muscle memory guiding your hands. The lattice walls snap into place, creaking softly as you tie them tight. You haul the felt over the frame, its weight a comforting heft, and secure it with those horsehair ropes. Inside you lay a reed mat on the floor, unroll your sleeping furs, and set a small fire pit at the center. Smoke curls up through the roof's open crown, and you feel the yurt's warmth wrap around you like a hug. It's not just shelter, it's a bubble of safety in a wild world. Your horse snorts outside, and you glance at the door flap, picturing the steppes' vastness beyond. This yurt's been with you through blizzards and heat waves. Its felt patched from old battles with thorns and time. You chuckle, thinking how your city-dwelling cousins would gape at your pop-up palace. They probably trip over the threshold and burn their fingers on the fire pit. But for you, this is home, carried across miles, rebuilt wherever you stop. You might decorate the interior with a woven rug, a splash of color that reminds you of your mother's hands. Or maybe you hang a small charm above the door, a token of luck. Every yurt is personal, a canvas of your life. As you settle in, the fire crackles, and you realize the yurt's more than walls and felt. It's a system. You've got to balance weight and warmth, portability and strength. Too much felt and your horse groans, too little and you're shivering by dawn. You've learned to pack the frame just so, each pole slotted into a leather sling. It's a puzzle you solve every time you move, and you're damn good at it. The stars peek through the roof's crown, and you lie back, the yurt's gentle creaks lulling you. Tomorrow, you'll pack it all up again, but for now, this is home, and it's perfect. Fire in your yurt glows softly, casting shadows on the felt walls, and you're rummaging through your pack for something to eat. Out here on the steppe, meals aren't just sustenance. They're a ritual, a small defiance against the endless horizon. You pull out a small leather pouch, its surface worn smooth from years of handling. Inside are your secret spices, the heart of every nomad's kitchen. These aren't just seasonings, they're your edge, turning bland meat into a feast and keeping your spirit from wilting. You guard this pouch like a treasure, because out here, flavor is power. The mainstream fact is that ancient nomads, like the Xiongnu of Central Asia around 200 BCE, carried spice blends for both taste and preservation. Archaeological digs have unearthed traces of coriander, cumin, and wild mustard in their campsites, likely traded along early Silk Road routes. You sprinkle a pinch of ground coriander into a simmering pot of mutton, the aroma curling up like a promise of better days. These spices weren't cheap. Some cost more than the meat itself, but they stretched meals, masked spoilage, and made allies at shared fires. You've bartered a handful of cumin for a new water skin more than once. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some nomads, like the Bedouins, supposedly hid their best spices in hollowed-out bones, keeping their recipes safe from rivals. You've got a tiny antler tube tucked in your pouch, stuffed with a fiery blend your grandmother swore by. It's your little secret, and you grin, imagining a thief's confusion if they ever nabbed it. Historians still argue whether these spice caches were practical or a flex of wealth. Did you hide them to preserve them or to show off? The debate's open, as grave goods rarely include such delicate containers. You stir the pot, the steam warming your face, and think about what these spices mean. Each pinch is a story, a thread to your past. That mustard seed, traded from a merchant who smelled of saffron and lies. The dried mint, plucked from a riverbank where you laughed with your sister. You're careful with every grain, knowing resupply is months away. Your fingers, calloused from reins and rope, measure by instinct, and you toss in a dash of something sharp, maybe wild onion powder, for kick. The stew bubbles, and you inhale deeply, the scent grounding you in a world that's always moving. Cooking out here is an art, and you're no amateur. You've got a small clay pot blackened from use that fits just enough for you and your kin. No fancy utensils, just a wooden spoon and your trusty knife. You chuckle, thinking how modern chefs would faint at your setup. No sous vide nonsense, just fire, meat, and your spice pouch. But it's enough. You've fed strangers with this, won their trust over a shared bowl. Spices are your diplomacy, your currency, your comfort. Once, you added too much chili and nearly choked a trader. His red face still makes you snort. The pot's ready now, and you scoop out a portion, the warmth seeping into your hands. You sit cross-legged, the yurt's quiet hum wrapping around you. Every bite is a burst of flavor, a reminder that you're not just surviving, you're living. Your spices are more than food. They're memory, trade, and survival rolled into one. You seal the pouch, tucking it back into your pack, and glance at the fire. Out there, the steppe waits, cold and unforgiving. But in here, with your stew and your secrets, you're untouchable. You lick the spoon, savoring the last bit of heat, and lean back, ready for whatever comes next. The fire in your yurt has settled into a soft glow, and you're curled up on a wool mat, the steppe's silence pressing against the felt walls. Your belly's full from that spice stew, and now your mind wanders to the stories that keep you tethered to your people. As an ancient nomad, you carry family tales, whispered under starlit skies, each one a thread in the tapestry of your tribe. These aren't just bedtime stories. They're your history, your identity, passed down like the spice pouch in your pack. You clear your throat, ready to share one, even if it's just to the flickering shadows. The mainstream fact is that oral traditions were central to nomadic cultures like the Mongols and Turkic tribes around 500 CE. Without written records, they relied on storytelling to preserve genealogies, battles, and myths, often recited in rhythmic chants. Archaeologists have found no books in their graves, but the epics, like the Mongol secret history, survived through memory alone. You begin a tale about your great-grandfather, a horse thief turned hero, his cunning outwitting a rival clan. Your voice is low, the words flowing like a river, carrying names and deeds that anchor you to the past. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some nomads, like the Siberian Evenki, believe stories held power to summon ancestors' spirits. You pause mid-sentence, half expecting your great-grandfather's ghost to nudge you for embellishing his tale. It's a silly thought, but you toss a pinch of ash into the fire for luck. Historians still argue whether these tales were literal or symbolic. Did your ancestor really steal 100 horses, or was it a metaphor for outsmarting enemies? The debate's alive, as oral histories blur fact and fable. You lean back, the stars visible through the yurt's crown, and let the story unfold. You're not just recounting, you're performing, your hands tracing the arc of a bow or the gallop of hooves. The tale's rhythm soothes you, each word a bead on a string you've memorized since childhood. You describe the frost on the grass, the glint of a rival's spear, and your great-grandfather's sly grin. You smirk, thinking how modern folks would slap this on a podcast and call it content. But for you, it's survival. Lose these stories, and you lose yourself. Your voice dips as you reach the tale's heart, the moment your ancestor spared his rival's life, earning loyalty that saved your clan. It's a lesson you carry, one you'll pass to your own kids. You've told this story 100 times, each telling a little different, shaped by the mood or the listener. Sometimes you add a wolf's howl for drama, and you chuckle, imagining your sister rolling her eyes at your theatrics. Out here, stories are your library, your entertainment, your glue. You've traded tales with strangers, their accents twisting familiar words, and found kinship in shared heroes. The fire pops, and you realize these tales are as portable as your yurt. You carry them in your head, no weight added to your pack, yet they're heavier than any load. They remind you who you are when the steppe feels endless. You might weave in a detail from last week's hunt, tying your life to your ancestors. It's a living thing, this storytelling, and you're its keeper. You finish the tale, your voice a whisper, and feel the weight of those stars above. Your great-grandfather's story is safe, and so are you. For now, the stars still gleam through your yurt's crown, their light mingling with the dying embers of your fire. You shift on your mat, your hands restless, and reach for the small leather bundle tied to your belt. Inside is your knife, its bone handle worn smooth from years of use. As an ancient nomad, you wield multi-purpose tools like this one, crafting everything from shelters to meals. This blade is your partner, an extension of your will, and you're about to put it to work, carving a new notch to mark another day survived on the steppe. The mainstream fact is that nomads, like the Huns around 400 CE, carried compact, versatile tools designed for a life on the move. Archaeological finds from their camps reveal knives with iron blades, often under 6 inches long, paired with awls and scrapers for woodworking and hide tanning. You run your thumb along the blade's edge, testing its sharpness, and set to work trimming a willow branch for a new arrow shaft. The knife slices cleanly, each cut precise, turning raw wood into something useful. This tool doesn't just shape materials, it shapes your survival. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some nomads, like the Altai tribes, decorated their knife handles with tiny carvings of animals, believing they channeled the creature's strength. Your knife has a faint wolf etched into the bone, a nod to your father's old stories. You grin, wondering if it's the wolf or just your skill that makes the blade feel so alive. Historians still argue whether these carvings were spiritual or merely decorative. Did they invoke protection or were they just art? The debate persists as grave goods show both plain and ornate tools. Crouched now, the branch taking shape under your steady hands. The knife's weight is perfect, balanced for carving, skinning, or even digging out a stubborn root. You've used it to gut fish, mend boots, and once, don't laugh, to trim your beard after a bet gone wrong. You chuckle, picturing your cousin's smug face when he won that one. Out here, your knife is everything: chef, tailor, carpenter. You've got other tools, a flint striker, a bone needle, but the knife's the star. It's always within reach, tucked into your belt or under your sleeping furs. The willow branch is smooth now, ready for fletching, and you pause to admire your work. Tools like yours were the nomad's Swiss Army knife, each one a lesson in efficiency. You carry no extras. Every ounce matters when your horse is groaning under the load. You think back to that spice pouch from a few nights ago. Remember how you savored that stew. Your knife cut the meat for it, just as it'll carve the next meal. It's a thread tying your days together, as vital as the stories you told under the stars. You sheathe the blade, its wolf carving catching the firelight, and feel a quiet pride. Modern folks would probably call your knife minimalist and sell it for a fortune. You snort, imagining their soft hands fumbling with it. Out here, it's not gear, it's life. You've seen traders hawk fancier blades, but yours, passed down from your father, is enough. You pat the handle, ready to pack up at dawn. The stepp's waiting, and your knife will see you through whatever it throws at you. Dawn breaks over the steppe, painting the horizon pink, and you're already moving. Your yurt packed and slung across your horse's back. The air's crisp, carrying the scent of dew and grass, and you hear the soft bleating of your herd. As an ancient nomad, your animals, horses, goats, maybe a few stubborn camels, are more than livestock. They're your lifeline, your companions, your engine across this endless plain. You whistle sharply, and your favorite mare flicks her ears, falling into step beside you. These beasts carry your world, and you trust them more than most people. The mainstream fact is that nomads, like the Scythians around 600 BCE, relied heavily on domesticated animals for survival. Archaeological evidence from Kurgan burials shows horse tack, goat bones, and even camel hair ropes, proving these animals provided transport, food, and materials. You stroke your mare's flank, her warmth steadying you, and check the leather straps securing your yurt's frame to her saddle. She's carried you through storms and raids, her hooves as familiar as your own heartbeat. Without her, you're stuck. Without your goats, you're starving. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some nomads, like the Mongols, reportedly sang to their herds to calm them during blizzards. You hum a low tune now, half embarrassed, as your goats shuffle closer. It works, and you smirk, wondering if it's magic or just habit. Historians still argue whether these songs were practical or ritualistic. Did they soothe the animals or honor the spirits believed to guard them? The debate's open, as ethno-historical records offer no clear answer. You're herding now, guiding your animals with a long stick and sharp calls. The goats nibble at sparse grass, their milk destined for your next meal. Your horses, bred for endurance, carry your gear without complaint, though you catch your mare eyeing you when you add an extra bundle. You chuckle, promising her a rest soon. Modern folks would call that animal labor laws and write a blog about it. But out here, it's partnership. You brush her mane, checking for burrs, and think of the knife you carved with last night. That wolf-etched blade skinned the hides that pad her saddle. Your camels, if you've got them, are the real MVPs. They haul heavier loads and sip water like misers, perfect for desert stretches. You remember a trader's tale about a camel spitting in his face, still makes you snort. These animals aren't just muscle. They're your pantry, your transport, your currency. You've traded goats for spices, horses for alliances. Once you lost a foal to a wolf, and the ache lingered longer than you'd admit. You pat your mare again, grounding yourself. She's carried you farther than any story from those starlit nights. The herd moves steadily, and you scan the horizon for water. You know their rhythms, when the goats tire, when the camels get ornery. You've learned to read their moods like you read the clouds. They're family, in a way, tied to you as tightly as that spice pouch or your great-grandfather's tail. The steppes vast, but with your animals, it's home. You whistle again, softer now, and keep walking, their steps echoing yours. The sun climbs higher, warming the steppe, and you're guiding your herd along a faint trail, your mare's steady gait a comfort beneath the creak of her load. Your hand brushes a small pouch tied to your belt, separate from the spice bundle you savored nights ago. This one's heavier, its contents clinking softly, a collection of sacred keepsakes, talismans that tie you to your ancestors and the spirits of the land. As an ancient nomad, you cherish these tokens not for their weight in trade, but for their power to anchor your past to your present. You pause, feeling their faint warmth, and know they're as vital as your knife or your herd. The mainstream fact is that nomads, like the Turkic tribes around 700 CE, often carried small ritual objects, as seen in archaeological finds from Siberian burials. These included bronze amulets, carved stones, and bone figurines believed to offer protection or guidance. You unclasp the pouch and lift out a smooth river stone, its surface etched with a spiral. It was your mother's, passed to you with a whispered prayer to ward off bad dreams. You rub it between your fingers, its coolness grounding you as you scan the horizon for signs of trouble. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some nomads, like the Khitan, reportedly tied tiny bells to their talismans, believing the sound scared off malevolent spirits. Your pouch has a bronze disc with a faint jingle, and you give it a shake, half smiling at the thought of spooking a ghost. It's probably nonsense, but out here you don't tempt fate. Historians still argue whether these keepsakes were purely spiritual or also social markers. Did a fancier amulet signal higher status? The debate lingers as grave goods vary widely in craftsmanship. You're moving again. The herd's rhythm's steady, but your mind's on the pouch. Each item inside is a story. There's a hawk's feather plucked after a hunt where you swore the bird led you to water. A bone bead strung by your sister reminds you of her laugh. These aren't just trinkets, they're your roots carried across miles. You think back to the stories you told under the stars. Remember your great-grandfather's tale? These keepsakes feel like their physical echo, holding the weight of your clan's hopes. You chuckle, imagining a modern museum labeling them cultural artifacts while missing their pulse. Your fingers linger on a small clay figure, a crude horse no bigger than your thumb. It's older than you, maybe older than your mother. You've never prayed to it, not exactly, but you've held it during storms. Its solidity, a quiet comfort. Out here, where the steppe can swallow you whole, these talismans are your defiance against oblivion. You've seen traders offer gold for such things, but you'd sooner part with your knife. Once, you lost a bead to a river, and the grief was sharp. Silly maybe, but real. The herd slows, and you tuck the pouch away, its faint jingle blending with the goat's bleats. These keepsakes don't feed you or build your yurt, but they keep you whole. You glance at your mare, remembering the wolf-carved knife you used to trim her saddle. Like that blade, these talismans are tools just for a different kind of survival. The steppe stretches on, but with your spirits, stone, feather, and bell at your side, you're never truly alone. You whistle to the herd and keep moving. The steppe hums with midday heat, and you're guiding your herd toward a distant cluster of tents. A trading post, alive with the clamor of bartering. Your pack feels heavier now, not from tools or talismans, but from the treasures you've tucked away for moments like this. As an ancient nomad, you carry trade goods, rare hides, polished stones, maybe a vial of that secret spice, to swap for what you need. You're no mere wanderer. You're a merchant in your own right, navigating markets as deftly as you navigate the plains. You adjust your cloak, ready to haggle and step into the chaos. The mainstream fact is that nomads, like the Sogdians around 300 CE, were key players in early trade networks, bridging east and west along the Silk Road. Archaeological sites reveal their goods, furs, amber, and even glass beads, found as far as China and Persia. You pull out a soft fox pelt, its reddish hue catching a trader's eye. It's prime, trapped last winter, and you know it'll fetch a new waterskin or a bundle of arrows. You've done this before, reading faces as carefully as you read hoof prints. And you're good at it. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some nomads, like the UZ, reportedly used knotted cords as a kind of currency ledger, tying knots to track debts. You've got a small cord in your pack, a few knots marking a deal with a wool merchant. It's odd, but it works, and you smirk, thinking how modern bankers would scoff. Historians still argue whether these chords were widespread or unique to certain tribes. Were they a proto-accounting system or just a quirk? The debate's unresolved, as few chords survive in the archaeological record. You're at the market now, voices swirling around you like dust. A trader with a braided beard offers iron arrowheads for your pelt. You counter with a small agate stone, its deep red glinting in the sun. He hesitates, and you know you've got him. Trading's a dance, and you've learned the steps. Offer low, smile sharp, walk away if the deal sours. You think back to that spice pouch you guarded so fiercely. Once you traded a pinch of saffron for a dagger. Out here everything's currency and you're rich in what matters. The market's a kaleidoscope. Silks from the east, salt from the south, and a caged falcon that makes you pause. You've got no use for it, but you admire its fierce eyes, reminding you of the hawk feather in your talisman pouch. You chuckle, imagining a city dweller trying to barter with a credit card here. They'd be laughed out of the tent. Your cord gains another knot as you seal the pelt deal, swapping it for arrowheads in a clay jar. You test the jar's weight, satisfied. It'll hold water or stew, maybe both. You move on, weaving through stalls, your eyes sharp for cheats. You've heard tales of traders slipping lead into bronze, and you're not falling for it. Your treasures, hides, stones, a bone comb you carved with that wolf-edged knife, are your leverage, but they're finite. You barter carefully, knowing the step offers no refunds. By day's end, your pack's lighter but smarter. New tools, a bit of cloth, and a story of outwitting that bearded trader. You leave the market, the herd trailing, and feel the steps quiet settle over you again. The trading post fades behind you, its noise swallowed by the steps' vast quiet, and you're back to guiding your herd under a sky bruised with dusk. Your new arrowheads clink softly in your pack, but your mind's on the night ahead. Cold, exposed, and full of tricks the land loves to play. As an ancient nomad, you've mastered survival skills, like starting a fire in a howling wind, or finding water in a cracked wasteland. These aren't just habits, they're your shield against nature's indifference. You stop to gather tinder, your hands moving with the ease of countless nights like this. The mainstream fact is that nomads, like the Bedouins around 100 CE, developed sophisticated survival techniques, as evidenced by archaeological traces of fire pits and water caches across desert routes. You kneel, stacking dry grass and twigs, and pull out your flint and striker, tools as familiar as your knife. With a few sharp strikes, sparks catch, and you coax a flame to life, its warmth pushing back the chill. Fire's your ally, cooking food, warding off wolves, and signaling allies across the dark. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some nomads, like the Tuareg, reportedly used dried dung as fire fuel when wood was scarce, claiming it burned hotter. You've got a small sack of it tied to your mare, and you wrinkle your nose, grinning at the thought of modern campers gagging. It's practical, though, and you've used it before. Historians still argue whether dung fuel was a last resort or a deliberate choice. Did it signal resourcefulness or desperation? The debate's open as chemical traces in ancient hearths don't settle it. You're feeding the fire now, its crackle a steady pulse. You've learned to read the land's moods, clouds that lie about rain, sands that hide scorpions. You once found water by following a bird's flight, a trick your father swore by. You chuckle imagining a survival show host trying that and face planting in dust. Your knife, the one with the wolf carving, cuts a branch to skewer meat, tying tonight's meal to the tools and tales you carry. That spice pouch? A pinch of cumin makes the meat sing, a nod to your market trades. Survival's a game of patterns. You know which rocks hold heat longest, how to angle your yurt against wind. You've outsmarted blizzards by digging snow shelters, your hands raw but alive. Once you made a snare from horsehair to catch a hare, your stomach growling louder than the wind. You smirk, thinking how your city cousins would starve out here, their apps useless without signal. Your skills are your currency, earned through years of trial and error, like the time you learned, not so gently, that green wood smokes like a grudge. Fire's strong now, and you settle beside it, the herd grazing nearby. You've got other tricks, a sling for hunting, a way to purify water with hot stones. Each one's a story, like the great-grandfather's tale you whispered nights ago. They're your edge, letting you thrive where others falter. You glance at the stars, their patterns as familiar as your mare's gait. The step's a tough teacher, but you're a quick study, and this fire, this moment, proves it. You lean back, the warmth sinking in, ready for whatever dawn brings. The fire's embers glow faintly now, and you're sprawled on your mat, the steps quiet, wrapping you like a blanket. Your herd's settled, your yurt's snug, and the weight of your pack feels lighter somehow. As an ancient nomad, you've carried more than tools and treasures. You've carried a legacy, traditions woven into every knot, story, and spice. Now, with the stars burning bright above, you think about passing it all forward, ensuring the nomad's spirit endures through your kin. It's not just survival, it's a promise to keep your way of life alive. The mainstream fact is that nomadic cultures, like the Mongols around 1200 CE, preserve their identity through oral transmission and apprenticeship, teaching skills and values to the next generation. Archaeological records show children's tools, miniature knives, small bows, buried alongside adults, proof of early training. You watch your young cousin, barely 10, practicing knots with a horsehair rope. You correct his twist, your voice soft but firm, passing on what your father taught you. This is how it's always been, knowledge handed down like the wolf-etched knife in your belt. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some nomads, like the Nomads, held story duels where elders and youths competed to tell the best tale, sharpening memory and wit. You've challenged your cousin to one, and his clumsy retelling of your great-grandfather's horse theft makes you snort. He'll get better, and you'll make sure of it. Historians still argue whether these duels were entertainment or sacred rites. Did they build community or honor ancestors? The debate's open, as ethnographic accounts vary. You're teaching more than stories. You show your cousin how to spark a fire like you did last night, and how to read the herd's mood, like when your mare sensed a storm. You think back to the yurt you built, the spices you savored, the talismans you carried, each a lesson you'll pass on. He's learning to barter, too, mimicking your haggle at the market. You chuckle, remembering his wide-eyed awe at your fox pelt deal. Modern kids might learn coding, but out here, your cousin's mastering life, real life, not some app. The legacy isn't just skills, it's a mindset. You teach resilience, the kind that kept you moving through blizzards and barren stretches. You share the pride of a well-packed horse, the joy of a spiced stew, the comfort of a jangling talisman. Once, you caught him holding your Riverstone keepsake, his small fingers tracing its spiral. You didn't scold him. You told him its story instead. That's how it works. You carry, you teach, you endure. You grin, imagining a future nomad stumbling over your cousin's own tales, maybe about you. The fire's nearly out, and you pull your cloak tighter, the steps chill creeping in. You've given your cousin a piece of your world, just as you carry pieces of those before you. The nomad's life, yurt, herd, knife and all, lives on through him. You lie back, the stars a silent witness, and feel the weight of that promise settle over you, warm and sure. The steppe stretches beyond your yurt, its grasses swaying in a gentle night breeze, and you feel the world slow. The stars above seem closer now, their light softer, like a whisper of rest. You've carried so much, shelter, spices, stories, and the spirit of your people, and it's all here, in the quiet of this moment. Your breath steadies, matching the rhythm of the land, and the worries of tomorrow drift like smoke. The herd's safe, your cousin's learning, and your legacy is woven into every step you've taken. Let the steppe hold you now, its vastness a lullaby, and sink into sleep, wrapped in the warmth of a life well carried. Good night, nomad.